Well, hello and welcome to our second conversation with leadership. I'm so delighted that you've chosen to be a part of today's conversation. And I want to thank the best team that I could possibly have the joy of working with for being here today. They've worked behind the scenes to develop responses to your questions. And more importantly, they are the brains of the operation. So I've asked them to join me here today as we take questions from the college community. Of course, you know Dr. Sanjay Rai, Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs. Ms. Donna Shin, Senior Vice President for Administrative and Fiscal Services. We have Mr. David Sears, Senior Vice President for Advancement and Community Engagement. And last but certainly not least, Dr. Monica Brown, Senior Vice President for Student Affairs. I'm so delighted. Thank you all for being here today. And we're going to jump right in. I have a few introductory comments and then we'll go right into your questions. So many of you know that when we did our last one of these in May, I kind of thought that might be it. We'll go through and continue to deliver our town hall meetings and other things in a face-to-face manner. A little did I know that the landscape has changed. This is the new reality now that all of us have become accustomed to, both in the public sector and the private sector. And I know I'm hopeful that each of you, this doesn't feel new anymore. This is how we do business. We've been very deliberate about that and have been very thoughtful about engaging our college community in different strategies to stay connected. We have been changed, I think, as a nation, perhaps as a globe right now. We know that wearing masks or face coverings has become essential what we do. Hand washing, social distancing, and the ways in which we have been deliberately taught how to do this, I think is quite remarkable. In fact, one day I started out of my house and I was kind of struck when I realized, oh my goodness, I looked across the street and I saw someone without a mask on. It kind of startled me at first. So I know this is the way that we do, and it makes me very deliberate to think about how I talk and how I present myself in the public space in that way. But I know we still mourn some of what we used to have. I had one of our faculty members write me and say that she wished she was, quote, back in the old classrooms, teaching and leaning over her students' desk as they try to figure out math problems. She said, but after that, the following day, after she had that longing, she couldn't shake the feeling that she could have been infected from being so close to students, even if that were a dream that she was having. And we know this is the new reality that we all live in. We have been changed by this pandemic. What I'd like to think that at Montgomery College, we're trying to make sure that this change is not for naught. Our daily routines and expectations have been altered in ways that have been sometimes profound, sometimes mundane. And for those of us who've lived with the illness personally, whether it be you or members of your family, we know that this reality has been significant and it continues to be a frightening line for many of us. Unfortunately, we know that much of this fear is warranted. The virus is still with us, and we have to live with it while we're all trying to get better at living with it. Scientists are learning about the virus, and as we look at and monitor the progress of potential vaccines, we know that targeted treatments are also becoming something that we're becoming more sophisticated at providing. And as an institution, we've had time to prepare, and unlike what we did this March when we had to leave abruptly when we were told that we were not able to do that. So we have many structures in place now that we didn't have back then, trying to respond to questions thoughtfully. And we're looking at ways in which how we can gather where required medical expertise and large scale planning experience. I will share with you that this has been a huge part of the conversations over that we're going to talk about today. But also, we know that one reality continues to exist. At the foremost of what we do at Montgomery College in the midst of this pandemic is to continue to prioritize the health and safety of our students and our employees. And this is going to require that we remain largely remote for the fall semester. Now, as I said in my message on Monday, the risk of exposure continues to be something that we worry about. We know that classrooms and learning spaces and the dynamics of traditional teaching and learning spaces has become a problem as one thinks about the delivery of instruction in the midst of a coronavirus. The use of public transportation, of how we share computers, of common dining spaces, all of these things have been designed to create the community that we love about the work that we do at a college. We also know that these very structures make us vulnerable as an institution. These are risks that we know that we have to respond to, and the potential losses are too significant. So, as I said in my message, allowing a very small number of our courses to be offered in a limited in person experience is an exception. And I'm talking about primarily lab sections. Because students cannot get full credit for these types of instructional experiences without having a didactic or hands on laboratory time, we know that we're going to have to adapt. So, we have about 5% of our classes where we're going to use certain health protocols in our arsenal to reduce the transmission of the virus and allow those courses to meet in a highly structured and a highly regulated space. This would not be possible if we return to for all of our courses in a face-to-face manner, but because of the sheer numbers of our students, the closeness and confines of our campuses, that's not possible. But looking at these very limited section of courses is something that we'll be doing. I'm going to let my team speak more about the details in just a moment, but in the meantime, I really want to emphasize and also thank our Corona advisory team that has done some in depth work. This has been a job on top of their regular work, and they have been tireless in researching best protocols, reviewing literature, looking at advice from both the CDC, the World Health Organization, and a plethora of other entities that have provided advice to higher education about how to advance in this moment. The senior leadership team has been out on all fronts trying to be thoughtful and engaged about the combination of plans to improve our teaching and learning spaces, but also working remote. And I want people to remember that as much as our core function is teaching and learning, there's a whole apparatus that supports that. So I think being very intentional about the needs of our staff is equally important. Faculty and staff have been actively engaged in all parts of this planning and dialogue, helping us to manage the remote challenges, but also imagining what higher education is going to look like and how do we remain student centered in the midst of all of this. Our students have also been terrific. We listen to you and you offer tremendous perspectives that help us think differently, but also help us hone our communication messages. Because I know that if it's something we've said that you aren't understanding or still have questions about, it lets us know that we need to say it more effectively and more thoughtfully and deliberately. So I thank you for that. The college has also been and continues to be inclusive as we think about this conversation, and that's our instinct as an organization. It's amazing to watch us talk about equity and inclusion every time we bring these issues up within the organization. And I love to see how we've been able to prioritize that, the needs of our students, while also thinking very deliberately about how we want this experience at Montgomery College to unfold. So we've had about 5 months to be thoughtful about this and to work out health protocols that would govern how in-person learning experiences will function. And I'm very confident that we are prepared when we're able to return to a face-to-face instruction. We spent a great amount of time systemizing our remote working practices. So I'm hopeful that those things will be smoother as we step into the fall semester than they were this spring when we had the abrupt movement into them. And I'm very pleased that our summer enrollment totals were up 11% over last summer. That says something about the fact that we continue to be a first choice of affordable, high quality education in Montgomery County, and that our withdrawals in the spring were down compared to our 2019 numbers. So more students enrolled and fewer students left the organization. And I'm very proud of those numbers because you all have worked so hard for them. And as we look at the fall in our enrollment at this particular point, we know that we're about 48% of credit enrolled right now. So very deliberate. We are roughly over about 2 months out before classes start, but it's very important that we think deliberately about how students will experience this, whether they choose to enroll, and how we ameliorate any barriers that may be there to help students be there. One of the things I want to do today is to provide an overview of the planning and preparation that's gone on behind the scenes since March when we left. While it may seem less relevant to the large portions of students and employees who are based remotely, the reality is that a treatment or vaccine or other factor that limits the transmission of COVID-19 could change all of the conditions that we have planned for. So we eventually, hopefully to resume in-person teaching and learning, we know that we have to confront new protocols, new expectations. So it's going to take us time to adapt. I ask for your continued patience, but I also expect your continued resilience because that's just who we are as an organization. And most importantly, I want to hear from you. I know that you have a great list of questions that have come in today. We're going to make every effort to respond to them thoughtfully and deliberately. Some of that means referring you to information that we already have listed in various places on the college's website. But more importantly, please let us know if there are things that you're not hearing. For brevity's sake, we've tried to collapse some questions, put them in together where necessary or important. But if you don't hear your questions asked, I'd ask you to go to the coronavirus page at the frequently asked questions. I'll be asking my senior vice presidents to chime in here with their expertise where appropriate because they have the deep knowledge in so many areas that I don't. And we've prepared a few graphics that may help with some of the questions as we move along. So I'm going to start first with some student questions. This is very exciting because with this second conversation, we had more questions come from students and employees. So I'm going to pose some. The first came from Yasmin Tori. And Yasmin said, will classes be fully online for the fall, including lab classes? So Yasmin, I'm going to offer a fairly lengthy response to this. And again, you'll be able to find this. As you may have seen in my communications this morning, the college has decided to remain in remote operation status for the fall semester, that the large majority of our classes will be delivered online. Only about 5% of our courses will have some in-person component, and those are courses where labs are essential for students to demonstrate the learning that's necessary to earn the credits for that particular class. These decisions were made in order to keep specific programs where required laboratory experiences or practicum experiences are required or integral to that program. These are connected to accrediting bodies and review forces outside the purview of our college. Our choice was to cancel these classes or work very deliberately with our faculty and with medical guidance to offer an in-person experience that would satisfy the requirements of that course. And as you can see in the link in my memo this morning, these are very specific and narrow areas for these courses. Automotive technology. You got to be able to touch a brake system in order to be able to understand how to fix it. Biotechnology, nursing, health sciences, and our landscape technologies. These are areas that have requirements that are not determined by the college, but by programs that govern how much and how such topics are taught at the college level. That said, I know the next question is going to be, well, how would the college protect those who teach these classes and the students who attend? And I have several answers for that. First of all, we're implementing new sets of health protocols, and I will assure you that you'll be hearing more about these in the news as they become common in many public spaces, and we're going to be pushing this information out very deliberately to the college community. I'm going to share some of the graphics on these rules with you now so that anyone who who comes to campus will begin seeing these signs and will need to understand what they mean. A mask will be required, no option, but required. Classrooms will be set up so that social distancing is maximized. There will be enhanced cleaning and enhanced cleaning protocols. Self-assessments will be required before coming to campuses. There may be temperature checks as well. Folks will need to update their contact information so that they can be contacted by contact tracers in the event of an infection among someone on the campus. And there may be some schedule changes so that only part of a class comes in at the same time. So these are some of the protocols for health that we're doing. But I also want to emphasize that if you are a member of a vulnerable population, you should stay at home. You probably know who falls into this category as you watch the news from all around the world, particularly as it relates to COVID-19. But these are folks with pre-existing conditions, the elderly, those who live with someone who is vulnerable. All of these folks should stay at home. Now, we're surveying our employees about this so we can design the best strategy to keep these vulnerable folks safe. And our HR STEM area will be communicating further about this as soon as they've compiled all of the results from the survey that they completed. And we're still working out some plans for vulnerable students. So, again, we are working deliberately to craft an environment where we follow health protocols, but also that we recognize and appreciate the vulnerable populations who also attend and work at Montgomery College. A third, and probably equally important, the college decision to stay largely remote is based on our highest priority, and that being maintaining the health and safety of our students and employees. At the same time, we're making these very highly controlled exceptions so the students can continue to progress toward their goals. We know that community colleges are a part of the economic ecosystem, so we know that it's important that our students who are making progress toward completion of programs of study be able to do so when external factors drive that. Now we're going to move ahead to another question. So thank you, Yasmin, for that. I hope we got thorough for you. As some of these may be seem like things we've answered before, but many of you still have them. So I'm going to read them anyway so that we can eventually transition back to using the facility. We're going to have the same question then. So I'm going to start getting ready now and start putting these questions out for you. From Alice Wang, she said, some of us faculty have elderly and especially vulnerable parents in their middle 80s whom we must visit on a regular weekly or every few days basis due to their health and living conditions, even if they don't live with us in the same house, apartment, or condo. Therefore, will it be possible for us to continue to work remotely? Alice, great question. And I hope that I answered it thoroughly enough, but I want everyone to hear this because this is one of the main reasons that we decided to make the decision that we did. Vulnerability of family members. These decisions are about our larger community as well as just the college. We need to be a part of the solution of controlling this virus until a vaccine or treatments can be developed that help ameliorate it. And another reason I want folks to be encouraged to think about assumptions that they may be making about others' vulnerabilities. I think this is something that we have to check our own privilege and bias when we have conversations about ourselves, our students, and certainly about our colleagues. This is especially to the young people. It is not only your future that is at stake. Wearing a mask and distancing may be protecting someone whom you don't even know, one of your classmates' parents or siblings. So let's assume vulnerability, even if you can't see it. My son is the king of this now. He is going around telling people, and they invite him to different things. He says, nope, I can't go. And when we ask him, what's your thought process of this? He said, I don't want to kill my parents. And I love the idea that he's intentional about thinking about the impact as a young person about what he can bring into a home. So I ask each of you, our students, our employees, to be thoughtful about the membership that we enjoy in this broader Montgomery College and Montgomery County community. Our next question came from Christy Ligestrand. I hope I'm not saying that too incorrectly. In regards to returning to campus, can you tell me what precautions are being taken for those working in close proximity and to closed offices? We are all anxious to return to work, but want to ensure the proper steps are being taken for everyone's safety. You know what, Christy, I really want to thank you for that question. Here's the thing that I know for sure. Montgomery College is full of truly exceptional and dedicated employees. I know this because you write me, you tell me about what you're doing. You ask, when can I come back to work, what the college's plans are, and we're being very thoughtful. So your commitment to our employees and to our mission and to this community we serve is something that impresses me and gives me great joy every day. I think I mentioned several strategies that we put in place to mitigate those risks. I will also point you to the very comprehensive planning that's been done by the coronavirus advisory team that is listed on the Resilient MC page. All of the Montgomery College protocols will be aligned with CDC guidance. In addition, social distancing will be in place for all work areas. This may require us to think and work differently on helping to relocate some employees or staggering work shifts. These details will be coordinated with managers and supervisors, and more information will be coming forward when we start to make those transitions back to face work at Montgomery College. So I'm gonna give you, I know you gotta be tired of hearing my voice, so I'm gonna ask Dr. Rye to take the next question that we have. Dr. Rye?
Yes, Dr. Pollard. The next question is from Tiama. She wants to know, she wants to take classes that overlap for 15 minutes, and she wants to know whether she will be allowed to take those classes or not. Our banner system will not allow any student to register for overlapping classes, and she has options. She can look at our schedule has several classes and pick a class that doesn't overlap.
Thank you. Dr. Brown, why don't you take the next question?
Sure. Matthew says, I was enrolled at the college last fall semester before the COVID 19 outbreak, took a break, and am looking to return for the fall. However, have a few questions. So, Matthew's question is related to the structured remote learning format. And he asked specifically about meeting with a counselor. So I would recommend Matt follow up with a counselor ASAP. He could meet with the same counselor he met with previously or another counselor of his choice. He should, during that session, review his academic plan and his educational goals. Matt, for more information about structured remote learning, I would recommend you visit our website, the coronavirus website, and specifically the instruction type section. We're trying to point all students with this type of question to this page for more information. And we really need to get the word out about this. And I think this is a really good format to do so.
Thank you, Dr. Brown. And Matt, we look forward to having you back this fall. Montgomery College is an exceptional college, and the fact that you're wanting to come back and continue education, we're honored to receive you. So hope that you'll be back this fall, taking the classes you need to lead you toward your program of study. Dr. Rye, we have another question from a student regarding biology labs.
So Helena is asking if we do end up continuing with virtual classes, will biolab classes will be taken to be online too? Yes, that's true. All our biolab classes for this fall semester will be offered online. In fact, there are very few lab classes that are coming on campus, and they are listed on our website. If you're taking those classes, you should follow the guidelines given on the website.
Thank you, Dr. Ryan. I know you've been keeping me abreast of some tremendous work that's taken place by biology faculty and others, but I know we've talked quite a bit about the lab courses here and the simulations they're using, the things to help really supplement what's happening in the classroom. So I think it makes me want to take a biology class. So I might have to look at that for this fall.
We can make it happen, Dr. Pollard, anytime.
No, I appreciate that. Although I will not take a seat from a student, but I will maybe audit a class. That might be good. Dr. Brown and Dr. Ryan, we have another question from Julie, and I'll read the question for you. I'm going to ask you all to respond to it. I'm a Montgomery College student, and I'm currently making plans for the fall. I read through the Resilient MC webpage, yes, as well as the Health and Safety Plan PDF. And I wanted to know some more information about plans for those of us that live with someone that is a part of a vulnerable population. I know it says that remote learning would continue for those of us that fall under that banner this fall, but I wanted to know if there's something that could need to be done or need to be submitted for this and how it would be handled. Is it based on the course? Should I reach out to the professor, etc.? I'm planning to take 1 to 2 science classes with lab components in case that information helps you provide guidance to me. What a lovely question. Dr. Brown and Dr. Rye, would you all take that on?
Sure, Dr. Pollard. So this has come up in our work group as a topic that needs more discussion. Disability support services will support students who meet the criteria themselves, but accommodations do not extend to a student who lives with someone vulnerable. We may need to discuss the college's attendance policy. They may be told not to come to campus based on the health assessment and miss the few labs that they are required to attend. It seems the attendance policy may need to be reconsidered, and faculty may need clearer guidance to accommodate students who cannot safely return to campus.
Dr. Rye,
So,
would you like to say some more about that?
yeah, absolutely. As I said earlier, all our most of our lab classes will be offered online. Our faculty in these areas have worked very, very hard and created a really high quality, highly engaging, and rigorous classes. The students will have very, very good experience in our online lab classes. Students who need a special permission due to health or other concerns, they can contact their professors, and professors will be very happy to help them.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Rye. Dr. Brown, this next question, I'm going to turn it over to you from Myra Romero. Would you take that on? Because I know it's all about your area.
Sure. And Myra's asking about MC services and if they'll be open without having to make appointments during the fall. So MC services will remain remote during the fall with very few exceptions, which will be identified to help students plan accordingly. You may contact the financial aid office because Myra asked specifically about financial aid by phone at 240-567-5100 or by email at financialaid@montgomerycollege.edu. Myra also asked about bookstores, and again, there's information on the website. Our bookstores will remain closed. However, they will have online services available to students.
Thank you so much for that. I'm going to ask you and Mr. Sears to take on this next question. I know you all both have a deep passion and concern in this space about finances. And Amberly Jefferson poses this question. She says, I, as the majority of people in the world, have been financially impacted by the pandemic. And that's so true. As I greatly appreciated the $500 we received earlier this fall, will there be anything like that again for the fall and spring semester? Or reducing our tuition temporarily since we're not utilizing most of MC's resources. This is my last year at Montgomery College before I go on to UMBC. Congratulations, Amberly. I'm so determined to actually finish, but paying out of pocket will prevent me and many of us from continuing on. Amberly, we hear this over and over again. I'm going to ask first Mr. Sears to comment on this and then Dr. Brown. Mr. Sears.
Sure. So Amberly, the college will be considering shortly how it will dispense the remaining CARES Act funding for student assistance for this coming academic year. In the meantime, we encourage all students to apply for MC Foundation scholarships, and you can find that online application on the financial aid webpage. Students in need can also continue to apply for emergency assistance. You can find the online link on the college's coronavirus webpage. Funds are limited, but we will do our best to address our students' needs. In terms of your question regarding reducing tuition temporarily, that would require consideration of a decision by the college's Board of Trustees. With the college already facing significant budget reductions from the state and a cost savings plan from the county, it may be difficult to reduce tuition with this in mind. Monica?
And it's a part of Montgomery College's mission to help ensure that as many people as possible have access to a college education. In keeping with our priority to keep costs low, we worked very hard last year to create cost savings, which allowed us to not raise tuition and fees this year. While we've been forced to offer classes in a remote environment, the quality of instruction has not been compromised.
I'll also add to that, and thank you, Monica and Dave, for that response. We've also continued to provide remotely services that you would typically have in face to face. You're able to secure those at the college through our remote services. So, Amberly, we hear you. We know this is an issue for many of our students. The economic impact of the coronavirus has been the most significant, second only to the health tolls that we're seeing, the most significant issue affecting us, and as you say, as a globe. So we are very aware of that. We've tried to keep our tuition reasonable. We still have one of the lowest tuition costs that you will see across the country. But more importantly, our board made the decision not to raise fees or tuition in this upcoming year. And we're working very deliberately to keep those costs that we're having to assume right now from students. And I really want to thank you for asking that question, because we know a lot of folks have that. I think we're going to try, and I'm going to help you with this next question, Dr. Brown, because my caffeine is starting to kick in a little bit more. The first question is from Jonah Albert, and maybe I'll take the first two from Jonah, and then I'll let you take the one after that. He says, will any facility, such as the library, be open on campus for students to work? It may become significantly difficult to work at home for various reasons, such as having other family members and especially young children around. Jonah, we really appreciate this question, because I think you demonstrate the complexity of the student experience of Montgomery College students. When the college is in structured remote teaching and learning mode, all college services will be offered remotely, including all library services. Now, I realize there are many distractions at home. We heard a student tell a story of studying at 8 o'clock in the morning and listening to a younger sibling watch Paw Patrol at the same time, and some of the craziness that goes with that. But preventing infection by remote services is our best strategy right now. So while those facilities will not be open, the services will still be there. And our library staff has worked tremendously hard over the last several months to take a number of services online, putting resources online, and I'm hopeful that our students will be able to benefit from that over the next several months. The second question that you asked is, when will a decision be made determining what the college's plans are for winter spring? Senior leadership right now is a constant communication regarding the college's status. All decisions about summer and fall were made very early based on state and county public health requirements and concerns, and we're closely following any information or guidance that these entities may provide for us. A decision will be made prior to registration being open for each of those sessions. It should be noted that for the winter session, most courses are already offered in a distance learning environment or format, and all courses for extended winter session are offered in distance learning format. So my intent, and to be very clear about this, is to make a decision fairly soon, within the next month or so, maybe 6 weeks, about what we'll be doing for spring. This is important because I know we believe the philosophy of treating our students both as learners and as consumers. And as a good consumer, you need to be able to plan. And as a good learner, you need to be able to plan. So we're being very deliberate about that, and we'll have that information for you. I'm going to ask you, Dr. Brown, maybe you can take this last question that he's posed.
Sure.
Will the bookstore open for the fall so students can purchase and rent class materials? And perhaps the college can offer curbside pickup or free shipping so the materials can get to students as they're needed.
So all bookstores will continue to operate online. Please visit the student portal on the coronavirus webpage at the college's website for more information on this topic. Thank you.
Yeah, this is a really important one. Our bookstores have been just really very deliberate about trying to respond to students at this point. So we ask you to be very thoughtful, reading the material, letting us know if there's a clarity that's ever needed in that space. And Jonah had another question, Dr. Brown, which I suspect you'll be hearing a lot from students. So this is good to be able to put this out here. He
Yes.
asked, will the gym slash athletic centers reopen on campus this fall so students can exercise?
So no, the gym and athletic centers will not reopen on campus this fall for general student exercise. There are many factors to consider here, and social distancing is one of them. Shared exercise equipment is another. And of course, the safety and health of our students is of paramount importance.
Thank you for that. We know that this is a need. I'm hopeful that each of you are trying to find ways, though, to exercise and to keep and practice different wellness strategies. Actually, let me pause right here and ask these senior vice presidents, because I ask them all the time, what are you doing to help yourself stay healthy and exercise? Just give me real quick. Dr. Rye, what are you doing?
Walking.
All right, that's good.
Walking. Yes.
Miss Shanna, what are you doing?
Walking.
Walking. What about that yoga we were just talking about?
I'm doing a little bit of the yoga as well.
Little yoga.
I'm not very good at it.
No, the yoga. Whew, I found a whole lot of good short videos on YouTube. That's what I've been doing. Mr. Sears, what about you?
Walking the C&O Canal and Little Bennett.
Yes, that's a good one. Dr. Brown, I know you've been doing some fun stuff. What you been up to?
I am doing chair yoga and boxing, Dr. Pollard.
Whoa,
It's a good-
I'm about to
it's a
see
good
them
balance.
guns. I've been working on my guns, so that's a good thing. Good for you. All right, with that, let me go, Dr. Brown, maybe you and I can take this next question because this is one that we were literally talking about earlier this week. Natalia says, how is MC Athletics going to make sure student athletes and coaches are safe while starting out practices and team meetings? And when is the confirmation for the season going to come? And could it be revoked and gatherings will have to be stopped? Now, this question is one that's very important. It's one that we've been talking about considerably. Athletics is an important part of the life of Montgomery College, and we know that it can be a great distraction in times of stress for fans as well. I don't know about you, but I'm so happy to be able to watch the bubble right now, both for the WNBA and the NBA. And I'm hopeful that those are very important things that you're enjoying, as well as watching soccer from other countries. I've seen that as well. But we still have the same concerns about students in classrooms as we would have if they were on fields and in basic training areas. Dr. Brown has been working very hard with our athletics department to offer and integrate the best advice. So I'll ask her to speak a little bit more about where we are at this time, Dr. Brown.
Absolutely. And if you know Dr. Pollard at all, you know that Dr. Pollard loves and supports athletics. But again, the safety and health of our students is of utmost concern. And so we've communicated our intent to the NJCAA to compete in the spring, subject to conditions. Next, Athletics and Student Affairs will work with the Coronavirus Advisory Team to revise the plan for fall conditioning and practice based on further discussions and guidance from Dr. Gales later this week. Fall sports were moved to the spring season, and a commitment to scholar athletes will remain for fall scholarships. And finally, we are all active in considering these factors as we think more about athletics in the spring. So thank you for that question. And again, we want to make sure all students, including our student athletes, are safe on our campuses.
Thank you for that, Dr. Brown. And we work very deliberately on this. Those of you who don't know, Dr. Gales is the Chief Health Officer for the county. So we are aligned in many different spaces, both with the NJCAA, our appropriate division, looking at state guidelines, but for us, looking at Montgomery County, because we are subject to those rules and we are very deliberate in understanding that. So I want to be very thoughtful and thank Dr. Brown for her leadership, but also that of our athletic director, our dean, who's responsible for this area, and really trying to advocate for students who are athletes, but also at the same time, be very deliberate about thinking about the health and safety of them, their coaches, and everyone who's actively engaged in that space, including our staff who support those areas where the students will be competing. Dr. Brown, you're on a roll, so I'm gonna let you, I'm gonna give you a break and give you a moment, but you and Dr. Rai could take this next question on. Reen Salah asked, I have a question about the required course materials for the fall semester. Will textbooks be available for free in ebook format through the red shelf like they were for the spring semester? This is a great question. Maybe Dr. Brown, you want to take it, then ask Dr. Rai to talk about it as well?
Sure, we'll tag team. So many of the student success, the STSU courses require no textbooks at all, but some do. Students should check the course schedule to determine what, if any, texts are required and the format. Dr. Rai?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Brown. Yes, we have several courses where you have open educational resources are available. These are basically e-textbooks where students don't have to pay anything. So that is one thing that will happen in several of our courses. Our faculty have worked very hard, and Montgomery College is actually one of the national leaders in this space. For some other courses, you have electronic a copy of the textbook available that you will have to purchase through the bookstore. And for some of other courses, you will purchase a standard textbook through bookstores. So all three different options and varieties are there for textbooks for coming fall semester.
Irene, I think this is a really great question because I've also asked Sideline for us to really be thinking as an organization if we're preparing for the future and and really the future is now. There are certain disruptions that are happening in higher education right now. Obviously, physical space and distance education is one of them. Open educational resources is one, but the use of instructional technologies and instructional materials, I think, is going to be something we're going to look at very closely as an organization. We know for a fact that there are, particularly for lower division courses, which our faculty are superior at teaching and have deep competency in, the opportunity for us to look at how we can reduce the burden of cost to students for instructional materials exists. It requires, I think, a different approach to it. And I think over the next year, you're going to be seeing more and more faculty raise this question because they keep asking about the cost of instructional materials, but also how to resist the tyranny of the textbook publishers. So it's a very important conversation. It's a specific moment we're in, and I really appreciate that question. I'm going to go to the next one. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Dr. Rai.
Yes, I will. As I said, we are national leaders in that space. Our entire general education program, every students can complete without purchasing a single textbook. We have 5 of our degrees. They are Z degrees. A student can complete entire degree without purchasing a single textbook. Obviously, we have more work to do in that area, but we are in a very, very good situation to make more progress in that area.
See, I set you up for that. You like how I did that, Dr. Rai? Very good.
Yes.
Dr. Brown, I'm going to have you take the next question that came in from Stephen Ramos. And he asked a question that I know is near and dear to your heart because our student life area has just been tremendous during this period where we have been working and instructing remotely. And the question he asked is, given the demonstrated positive outcomes for students who are actively engaged in student life opportunities and communities has been a strategy explored and evaluated to create a framework to allow students to benefit from student clubs and events and student life sponsored activities that occur on campus in phase two, either in large rooms or to allow social distancing or outside to allow people to spread out. Will these things be allowed?
So, student engagement is an extremely important part of student success, as we all know. Student life has been very successful in creating virtual engagement opportunities and will continue to enhance these activities. Although we want to be able to share space with our students in person, for the time being, we have to engage through other formats. Student Life has been hosting the Raptor Eats series, which includes the delivery of meal kits to students' homes so they can join in a virtual cooking demo and share a virtual meal with peers.
That's
Get
awesome.
engaged and get involved virtual information sessions, student senate activities, and many other events that promote engagement and well-being have been taking place and will continue until we can safely be on campus. Short events that focus on the health and wellness of our students have also taken place. For example, Student Life, in collaboration with the Student Health and Wellness Center for Success, held a contactless food distribution event on July 21st, and more events of this nature are being considered for the fall semester. Before we decided to go remote for the fall, planning had started that includes approaches for small, controlled events on campus as the college moves through these phases. But these events are very tentative as we monitor guidance from the county and state officials, as well as consider the limited availability of building service workers, public safety officers, and other supports on our campuses.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brown. The next question comes from a Virginia McCosco, and I'll take the question. Given that student and exchange visitor program guidance issued in March is still in effect, I would like to know if F1 students who are unable to return to the U.S. for fall 2020 can take online courses or remote structured courses and retain their F1 status as long as they are enrolled full time. Well, Virginia, there is some good news in this space, and we're very excited about that. The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has agreed to rescind its policy directive requiring international students to attend face-to-face classes or leave the country amid this global pandemic. Our 550 F1 students at Montgomery College will be able to continue attending the college from wherever they may be at the moment, though new international students do not fall under this policy. Based on the March 2020 Student Exchange Visitor Program guidance, which we still follow, students participating in online or other alternate learning procedures may be active, have active status in CVIS. The limit on online course enrollment is waived even if they have left the United States and are taking these courses online from elsewhere. Dr. Brown, Dr. Brown, Dr. Ryan, anything you all would add to that? Did I get it right?
No, Dr. Pollard, I think you got it right. Nothing to add.
Okay. Then I'm going to toss the next question to Dr. Rye, and thank you for that validation, Dr. Brown. I believe the Montgomery College should move to pass-fail if the semester continues to be online. Online courses are much more tedious and time-consuming than in-person classes. This is something I think students should take more time in considering. Fabrizio, I'm gonna let Dr. Rye take this before I kind of tackle the assumption in your second point of that. But go ahead, Dr. Rye.
So, Fabrizio, as you know, at Montgomery College, we gave a pretty serious consideration to pass-fail grade, and we decided not to adopt it at MC. Because it negatively impacts the transfer to upper division colleges and universities, acceptance into competitive admission programs of study, and also qualifications for competitive scholarships. And also at transfer institutions, especially at our major transfer institution, it's not clear. Even if certain universities are saying they will accept the credit, it's not clear how they will apply it towards their degree. They may have to take a placement exam again, or they may have to repeat certain courses again. At MC, what we have is certainly highly qualified faculty. And our faculty have gone through a very comprehensive training in remote teaching. So you have that available to you. And all our support services, especially our tutoring center, whether it's writing center or mathematics, science tutoring, that's all available to you in online and remote format. Also, our embedded coaching classes, Achieving the Promise, advising, all support is available to online in online format. Our objective is that you get to transfer to your school of choice, number one. Number two, once you transfer to a four-year college, all your credits transfer to that four-year college and they are applied towards your degree program. And most importantly, you are academically prepared to succeed at those four-year universities and complete your undergraduate degree only in 2 years at at the transfer institutions. So, with all that in mind, we decided not to use pass-fail grade.
We also had another major factor of consideration and went into that is that pass-fail grades have the potential to negatively impact your evaluation of your satisfactory academic progress for financial aid eligibility, which is yet another thing that's not talked about. So, Fabrizio, what I will say, what I think is interesting, just because I don't necessarily know if I agree with the premise of your question that online courses are more tedious and time consuming. I think there's a different type of learning, a different type of teaching that goes into that. And for some, it's more challenging, and for some others, it's not. Just because something is, even if you think it's more tedious and more time consuming, doesn't mean that a pass fail grade is the way to go. Our belief and our faculty debated long and hard on this. Our academic administration worked with them to hear their thoughts and respond. We have looked at some different options in our grading standards, but our job is to plan for your long-term benefit, not just looking at the short term of what this particular moment represents for you as a student. I'm going to take the next question with Ms. Shenna because, as you can imagine, some questions are coming in from employees. And the first one comes from Kimberly Jones, Director of Student Life, and she says, with COVID, we understand there has been some issues with enrollment. Have there been any discussions about furloughs or positions being eliminated? So that's really a great question, Kimberly, and thank you for that. It's one that we haven't addressed very directly up until recently. And if you've seen any of my memos, I've tried to lay this out very clearly, very deliberately, and trying to also make sure that people understand what the issues are. The college has had to absorb what amounts to the county and state cuts of roughly $4.3 million. In addition, a number of our revenue generating sources have gone. No funds from childcare, no rental events at the Performing Arts Center, etc. Now, we don't know yet what fall enrollment is going to be, but we know we have three sources of revenue: county, state, and tuition. And as I shared earlier in a previous response, we made a commitment not to raise tuition and fees for the next year because we thought that to be in the best interest of our students and community. All of this means that we have to think very carefully about spending. If student success is our first priority, then preserving our negotiated agreements with our faculty and staff is the next priority. I expect to honor these agreements in FY21, but we're going to have to tighten our spending accordingly in order to do that. I mentioned in my message this morning that HR STEM Talent Share Program is going to need to become a focus of ours. Some folks not able to participate remotely in the primary work that they have been assigned, and there may be other opportunities for them. If you want to preserve this opportunity to preserve all of our employees, some may need to retrain so that we can use their skills in another way. Many of them are already doing this, and we have dozens of training options. But this idea of saying that I'm not going to participate is something that all of us have to abandon. None of us are in roles that are not indispensable to the organization, particularly when you have a very, very confined moment that we're in and constrained as it relates to finances. The folks who have enrolled in the talent share are helping the college continue to provide services. We think that each person should think about their role at the college and consider this a team effort. This is a part of being a member of a community. And right now, our community needs help in different areas. So, taking the opportunity to accept those additional responsibilities is something that we truly need. And supervisors, we need you to think about how employees and their work is being done in your office, and certainly think about how it can contribute to the greater whole of the organization. The well-being of our entire organization depends on this. Everyone has a role to play, and we just have to decide to become more flexible and agile as an organization. That's what this moment demands of us. If we don't do that, then we have to be very thoughtful about what the consequences of that are. I don't know how many of you follow a lot of the blogs, but there was one recently, Seventh State, that talked about some of the budgetary issues that are affecting our county. The cuts that have been made so far by the state are only a third of their revenue losses, which means that more is possibly coming. And we don't know what this will look like but we need to be prepared. We also think about what that might mean as the county, who is the primary funder of Montgomery College. So protecting the livelihood of current college employees and propelling our mission forward was the impetus for our talent share program and should be top of mind for all employees and supervisors alike. Other options, such as complete hiring freezes, are very real possibilities in the future, as well as looking at ways in which certain employees do their work at the college is also something we're looking at. Ms. Shenna, would you want to add to this, as I know someone who thinks a lot about these issues?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pollard. No, there have not been any discussions about furloughs or eliminating positions. As Dr. Pollard has communicated since we began remote teaching and working in March, our priority is to do no harm. We have maintained employees on payroll throughout the remote work. We continue to do so. We have been diligent in our efforts to continue to identify cost savings. We have had hiring freeze in place since April, with only critical positions being approved for recruitment. We don't know what the future holds. The county and state have indicated that the full impact of the pandemic has not been realized, and they expect FY22 to be more challenging as the full impact is realized. We entered into this pandemic as a strong institution, both academically and financially, due to our strong financial management strategies. We are continuously monitoring the financial situation, and we will make whatever adjustments that may be necessary, but always with the goal to minimize impact on our employees. Let me reiterate, there have been no conversations about furloughs or elimination of positions.
Thank you, Ms. Shenna, for that clarity. And I also want to thank Kimberly for posing the question the way that you said it, because one of the things I think is important for people to recognize, Montgomery College did not start the coronavirus. We are not the ones who own the virus, but what we want to do is to engage our employees in making sure that we advance their health and safety and we do no harm to them, and hopefully work deliberately with our elected officials and our students to make sure that we have those revenues that are coming in to support the work that we're doing in this philosophy that we've taken. Ms. Shenna, we have a next question I'm going to pose to you, and I think it again speaks to this issue. Anne asked this: can the college leaders talk more about their efforts to meet the FY21 revised spending plan requested from our county executive, Mark Elridge? She's referring to a memo that I sent out on June 24th. How will they plan to meet the potential 6% budget reduction? How do we expect Governor Hogan's proposal to cut state education funding to affect our budget? In light of this potential budget shortfall, can they talk about all the decision to do compensation increases? Now, don't get me wrong, she says in parentheses, I'm thrilled that employees will get raises or bonuses, particularly during what has been a difficult year financially for many employees, but concerned about the increased salary expenses at a time when we're facing budget shortfalls. Thank you, Anne, for how you said that question and what you asked, because you are thinking deliberately as an employee of the college with both the college and your own interest in mind. Just thank you for that. Donna, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Pollard. The college is a very strong partner with the county. Because of our strong financial management oversight and our fiscal prudence over the past several years, the college was able to not request any new money from the county for FY21. Not only were we able to not request any new money, we were able to provide negotiated salary increases with the unions and meet our commitments to our non-bargaining staff and provide some additional funding for student scholarships. Additionally, because of our fiscal stewardship, we were able to participate in the county savings plan at 3% and absorb the cut imposed by the state and still meet our commitments to our students and our employees. Senior leadership is continuously monitoring the situation to evolve our fiscal planning and management for any future budget adjustments that may come to us. Dr. Pollard, both directly and through MHEC, the Maryland Higher Education Commission, has made public officials aware of the impacts of decisions to cut our budget by the Board of Public Works and the county executive.
Thank you for that, Ms. Shanna, and I'm hopeful that we responded to that again. This is it's not set in stone. We're watching this and see how things play out, but we are working with you, and we also know that as an organization, it's important that we're consistent with the message and that we're also deliberate about demonstrating how our collective work we've done over the last, particularly 5 to 7 years, has placed us in a position to be able to do what we're doing right now. Donna, I'm going to take a couple of these and then ask you to add something. We have a great question that came in from Pallavi Roy, who asked several, a lot of them I can just give yes or no responses to. First, will the following measures be taken to reduce infection risk? 1, reduction of class size to maintain social distance. Yes. 2, limiting the number of students and employees occupying a building at a time. Yes. 3, encouraging requiring masks. Yes. 4, availability of testing on campus. Now, we're having this discussion with the county about possibly being a testing location and have established a relationship to support contact tracing should that, because that be conducted throughout the county. But MC will not do its own. We will support their efforts for cases involving Montgomery College students or employees. That said, the county has asked us to consider this possibility, which would make testing more accessible. So we're in the process literally of trying to figure out what that would look like. And then 5, are we working with the county on contact tracing? Yes. Our Corona Advisory Task Force has been working on this. So everyone, please update your personnel information in the employee site and answer your phone if you're called by a contact tracer. This is a vital effort to limiting infection spread. Many folks do not answer their phones unless they recognize the number. I'm guilty of that. I'm being much more deliberate about it now. So please make sure that you participate. Now, Donna, would you like to add anything to that, perhaps about cleaning protocols? I know that's a very big issue for a lot of folks.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Pollard. We have increased the frequency and the quality of our cleaning. We have been working on developing these cleaning protocols since probably April. We have had a focus on making sure that we have the necessary cleaning supplies and the necessary personal protection equipment that our facility workers will require to go into our facilities to clean them. We want to make sure that these jobs are done thoroughly. We want to make sure that we have visual cues for our students and our employees to enforce the social distancing, and as well as letting people know areas have been sanitized and safe to enter. So we've done a lot of research and we are following best practices. A lot of our work has been guided internally by our facility leadership and our environmental and health safety staff. And so we're paying attention to the conversations that are going on now regarding ventilation and airflow to see what we need to do within the Montgomery College environment to ensure the health and safety of all who enter our campus and our buildings.
Thank you very much, Donna. The next question kind of follows into that same space from Virginia. She says, would it be possible to discuss in the meeting, this one, about installing purifiers in the heating cooling system throughout the college? During the normal flu season, germs flow through the heating cooling systems, and students, faculty, and staff administrators are sick for months. In addition to COVID-19, any wave, first wave or second wave, plus the flu season, this could be very harmful. Donna, want to take that?
Yes, thank you. We have looked at this, and our Corona advisory team has been looking at it, as well as our facilities team. We follow the American Society of Heating, Refrigerating, and Air Conditioning Engineers guidance, and it indicates HVAC systems in non-medical buildings play only a minimal role in infectious disease transmission, including COVID-19. So current guidance from ASHRAE recommends using MERV 13 filtration or higher, and most of our buildings have so. So we don't think there is a need for additional filtration. That said, most of our operations will be remote. We will be learning more about this as we go along, but we do following all the standards and guidance from ASHRAE. So we feel confident that our buildings are safe.
Thank you, Donna. The next question is very similar to that one from Margarita. She says, has the school discussed ways to control air quality to prevent infection? How does the air travel through our current systems in our campuses and off-site buildings? I'm concerned at my workspace at Gaithersburg Business Training Center. Has anyone discussed with the owner of the building the air system? The windows, to my knowledge, do not open for fresh air to come into any of the spaces. We work in a very tight and closed customer service entrance space. Can standalone HEPA units be installed? How often are air ducts cleaned? How often are air filters replaced? I'm aware some of these measures are expensive. However, if we can follow on some of the basic measures, it will contribute to the control of preventing infections.
So many of the modern buildings, you're not able to open windows, and this is a very similar question to the previous one. We're very aware of the benefits of airflow, so yes, we are considering everything we can do to improve the ventilation, and for now we're continuing to look at our options. This is something that facilities leadership, the directors on each campus, along with our environmental health and safety team, are continuing to assess as we learn more about this.
So let's go to the next question, and I'm going to ask Dr. Brown and then Ms. Shenna if you all would like to contribute to this. Amanda, hello, she asked two questions, so we took the liberty of combining them a bit here. Per the return to campus assessment, the emphasis is on limiting the overlap of staff in the same space as much as possible. How will this work for labs, learning centers, and libraries, given there's normally a minimum of 2 staff members on hand during open hours for safety and security reasons? For example, in the HS building at Germantown, which contains the Writing Center, library, and bookstore, along with our WDCE and humanities offices, this means among these offices and departments, does this mean there can only be 9 or less people in the entire building at one time? Dr. Brown?
Student services, yes, ma'am. So student services will remain remote during the fall. We've heard this. And during this time, areas will create plans that consider the health and safety of employees and students. If spaces are large enough to provide the appropriate distancing, more than 1 employee can be present. Facilities will provide space utilization plans and assist with the installation of approved signage and barriers, like plexiglass at reception and help desk areas, signage to mark areas out of service to limit capacity, etc. We're all reimagining our services with the guiding principles as our roadmap. Disability Support Services Learning Centers, whenever it is deemed safe to return to campus, will employ social distancing in all of our spaces. And this is also true for counseling and advising with the waiting rooms and computer stations and other similar spaces. Depending upon guidelines at that time, we may employ a variety of strategies, such as moving workstations 6 feet apart and the use of physical barriers or shields between workstations, in addition to masks, hand sanitizer stations, and limiting the number of people permitted in any space at the same time. Students may be required to set up an appointment for tutoring services in advance. And these are just some of the strategies that we are considering putting in place at this time. Ms. Shenna?
Yes, I'd like to add to that, that our facilities team right now is working very closely with Dr. Brown, Dr. Rye, on the classes that will be on campus for the fall, and looking how to make sure that we have distancing within the classroom, and also when we come out of the classrooms, that people are moved very quickly in that area and how to come back in and clean those. So there will be a very comprehensive plan looking at each classroom where we will have students. We're also looking at office buildings, so central facilities. We're putting a plan together there, how individuals will be spaced and placed within those areas. So we're doing a lot right now, and as we finalize this plan and have a greater understanding of how we will return to campus, these plans will be communicated to the college community with a specific detail.
Thank you, Ms. Shenna. I'm going to ask you and Mr. Sears to take the next question. It comes from Virginia. She says, are laptops available to borrow by students or faculty? Dave, you want to go first?
Sure. So I'll start and I'll let Donna fill in the gaps. So currently we have a very limited laptop loaner program for students for some of the specialized programs. The college is researching how we might assist students with technology needs going forward. In terms of the faculty, staff, and administrators can request a loaner laptop through the IT department. For students, the MC Foundation does have a limited amount of funding and equipment to provide laptops to students in need. Thanks to a donation that Dr. Rye coordinated and a donation from AstraZeneca, we do have a limited number of laptops that we can give to students, and they get to keep them. Students can request this type of assistance on our coronavirus page of the college. We also encourage students that may have this issue, those that qualify for CARES Act funding and receive the funding, they can use that funding to purchase a computer or a laptop when the funds are dispersed this academic year. Donna, any gaps you want to fill in?
I just want to say that the technology needs of our students is something that is very, very important to us, and we've been discussing this. It became very clear to us moving to this remote teaching and learning environment, the demands that we need to take a look at for technology for our students. So we actually have our IT department doing a deep dive into this to figure out what the needs are and what we may be able to do to provide technology needs to our students going forward.
Thank you very much, Dave and Donna, for that. I want to go to the next question because I think you all are hitting upon some really important points in your last response. And the question came from faculty member Karen, and she says, students and faculty have lived through an unprecedented change in the educational experience and are now well positioned to reflect on and share their wisdom. I just would say I think a lot of staff and administrators will feel the same way. Are we doing some kind of survey about student experiences of the second half of the semester and what kinds of classes, structured, remote, online, waiting until they can return to campus, that they're willing to sign up for in the fall? Similarly, can we survey faculty about their experiences? What went well? What were the challenges? What concerns they would like addressed for continued remote instruction in the fall? So I'll start by saying, and I'll turn it over to Monica, Dr. Brown, to talk about this from student affairs in terms of students. We're right now having a conversation to design a strategy about how to collect this information. When's the best time to collect it? Not about what they're going to sign up for in the fall, because realistically, we can only offer certain courses based on the health mandates of this particular moment we're in. But what we do know is that we have to be very deliberate about having people give us perspective about their experiences, faculty, students, and staff as well. So our offer is that right now we're designing a strategy to collect some of this feedback, how to go about doing it. Is a survey the best mechanism? Are there other mechanisms we should consider? In addition, what's the best time to do this? Obviously, as we prepare to go into the fall semester, having the opportunity to reflect on what you may have experienced may be useful, or thinking about how you've applied what you've experienced from the spring and summer a few weeks into the fall is a part of that. So we're literally in the midst of right now figuring out what that would look like for both students and certainly for employees of the organization. With that, Dr. Brown, I know you all are doing some things that are survey students regarding those front-facing services that they've received.
Yes. Yes. So Student Affairs will be surveying students on their thoughts about future planning and their experiences since Montgomery College went to remote services. We want to hear the student's voice, and we've provided opportunities for that in the past and will continue doing that in the future. And so we are incentivizing students by giving them a chance to win a $50 gift certificate or a gift card for their participation. An additional survey is being developed focusing on students who were registered in the spring but have not registered for the fall. We want to hear from them as always, and certainly during this time.
I've also asked Dr. Brown, and I put an idea out there and she just kind of ran with it, which I love, is thinking about how we can put more deliberate attention to using some of our employees and students, whomever, to reach out to those students that you described and to find out what it was about their experience that may have been problematic, but more importantly, how to get them to come back this fall and then serve as almost, a little coach with them as they go through the fall semester. So we're actually going to be talking about that in the coming weeks. So thank Dr. Brown and everybody's their attention in that space. The next question came from Dr. Durrani, and Dave, I'm going to turn this over to you. I'll read it for you and then have you respond to it. It is important for the Resilient MC team and for all of us associated with MC at all the MC campuses and locations to be aware of COVID-19 active cases, recoveries, and deaths in neighborhoods where the campuses and offices are located. Visual maps showing the neighboring area with sharing the basis used to decide on the extent of the neighborhood area around each location of MC campuses and offices and the present number of COVID-19 active cases, recoveries, and deaths are essential to an open conversation and for decisions by MC and each of the students, faculty, and staff and the families of the connected as to when and where to join face-to-face MC classes and events. I do hope these maps are shared on MC website soon. So I do know that our CAT team monitors this information, but Dave, I think you have some good perspective about this that I'd love for you to share.
Great. So first of all, I want to thank Dr. Durrani for the question, because it's so important to stay informed and aware during this pandemic. This issue is something we can discuss with the CAT team. We can consider providing a link from the government agency that provides this information. I think one challenge is that we could have maps around the areas of the campus and locations, but our students come from all over the county. So maps of neighborhoods around the campuses may not provide a full or accurate picture of how COVID-19 is impacting us. A county map may provide a clearer picture since 89.5% of our students are county residents. So we'll discuss this with the CAT team and work with our designers. Our web designer has been phenomenal with the Corona page, with the Resilient MC page, and see if we can put this information up on the site.
Thank you, Dave. I think it's important that I love the idea you have the link. We don't own the data. It's not reported to us, but if we can link out and people can follow it themselves, I think that's a really great point. Thank you for that. Don, I'm going to ask you to take the next question. Comes from Michael Whitcomb, and he says, the Washington Post reported that the IRS is allowing companies to modify flex spending account contributions to adjust for COVID-19 impacts. Is the college looking into this?
Mike, thank you for that question. That is really an important question because being able to do this really helps to minimize some of the financial stress on our employees. So based on IRS guidance, We are already allowing prospective changes for all our flexible spending accounts. That includes dependent care, health care, and limited health and transit. And that's without a qualified event, limited to the amount that an employee has already contributed. Our vendor, Benefit Strategies, is working on the amendments to our contract. Employees were notified May 27th in the edition of Employee Matters, and we'll include this information in future editions of the newsletter and post on the HR STEM benefits page as an evergreen reminder for our staff. In addition, Montgomery College has adopted the loan and withdrawal provisions of the CARES Act for our 403B and 457B supplemental plans for all retirement plan vendors, allowing for expanded distribution options and permissible loans with favorable tax treatment for up to $100,000 of coronavirus-related distributions from eligible retirement plans. We decided not to implicitly communicate this to staff to avoid giving the impression that we were encouraging employees to access retirement account assets. However, we may want to revisit this strategy as the pandemic has lasted much longer than we had anticipated. It should be noted that state law prohibits withdrawal of pension or ORP monies until separation of employment. So this option would only apply to the supplemental retirement plans, which are about 100% employee funded.
That's a great question and great insight. I love this idea of how you can keep this information forefront for employees as they're making these decisions, but also help them be aware of the consequences, which I think is what I also hear in that second part of the question. So thank you for that, Donna. Dave and Monica, I'm going to ask you to take this next question. Have you thought about marketing? This comes from Kimberly. Marketing outside of the state and allowing those who attend to get in-state tuition as an incentive. This might be able to boost our numbers a bit. Thank you, Kim. Dave?
So I would say first that we've considered a lot of new options in terms of how we market the college. We're actually launching some new ads and a new ad campaign this week regarding how we are so strong in terms of online teaching and online learning. In terms of giving in-state tuition as an incentive to out-of-state students, tuition is determined by the Board of Trustees, and there are state requirements that related to tuition and fees that really limit our ability to offer any discounts on tuition. And Monica can probably give some greater insights into that.
Certainly. Montgomery College has several state-designated programs where students can attend at the in-county rate. These are specialized programs that are not offered in the local community college for students. While we love the idea of boosting our numbers, we do not want to do anything to the detriment of our sister community colleges in the state.
Thank you for that. There are rules and guidelines, both formal and informal, that we have to follow in this space. So I think, but I love your innovation and entrepreneurial spirit there. So if you have more ideas, I happen to know that Dave and Monica always are very happy to receive them. Donna, I'm going to ask you to take the next question. So this is kind of related, and I think this might be the last one. I may ask you all a little fun question at the end of this, but it comes from Carla, and she says, when will Montgomery College's hiring freeze end?
So one of the things this pandemic has taught us is the talent of agility. Given the current pandemic, we're faced with unique workload and workforce staffing challenges. And we are limiting hires to those positions that are deemed critical to our operations. A suspension delay of recruitment and hiring was implemented on April 27th of this year. As the suspension continues, the senior vice presidents are reviewing vacant positions in their respective areas with the Vice President of Human Resources and Strategic Talent Management. And we're making recruitment and hiring determinations in that close collaboration and conversations. Additionally, the following guidance has been communicated. Recruitments for grant or alternate funded positions are being evaluated on a case-by-case basis as determined by the Senior Vice President. Interim assignments are being considered on a case-by-case basis for positions with critical compliance or operational responsibilities. HR STEM has implemented a talent share program to help meet staffing needs using internal talent. This program will be expanded as we get more and more information from the Return to Campus survey. Recruitments for new part-time faculty, an individual who has not taught at the college in the last 18 months and has not been terminated, should be reviewed with appropriate administrator deans and must be qualified to teach in an online and/or structured remote environment. The college is committed to the well-being of our casual, temporary, and student workers. Many of these employees were extended through September 30, 2020. However, the continuation of these employees beyond this date will be determined based on workforce staffing needs, funding availability. It's a fluid situation, and we just don't have a crystal ball, but we are monitoring it very, very closely. And as I think the message throughout all of this conversation today is how much we value our students and our employees, and we are monitoring those situations that will impact them very, very carefully.
Well, I am so grateful to these questions. It's been kind of amazing to me, the numbers and depth of them, certain themes that we see throughout, and always deeply grateful to you. Wanted to ask you all, if you all, on a kind of a fun note as we end this session today, have you all developed any new habits or things or hobbies to keep yourself engaged during this coronavirus between home and work? Anybody got any new things you're doing?
I'm cooking a lot more than I ever have in my entire life. I was just thinking this morning as I was thinking about what's for dinner tonight. I think since March 13th, I have not cooked maybe 3 or 4 nights, and that is so rare for me. So maybe I'm a little better cook than I used to be.
That's impressive, Donna. I know a lot of folks. So I've taken up latch hook. I wanted to show you all my newest projects.
Oh,
So this is
you.
one. Look at me.
Nice.
That's a latch hook.
Wow.
That's one.
Very nice.
Here's my most recent one I finished. Look at that.
Beautiful.
I think it should
Pretty.
be like that.
Very
I know.
pretty.
I just don't know what you do with these when you get done. I haven't.
Well,
figured
that second
part
one
out.
would look. That second one would really look nice in my office here.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to hold that for you. The next time we see each other is for you. I hope that you all are doing something good to take care of yourself besides the walking and the kickboxing and the yoga. But most of all, let me just say publicly and say it loud and proud, I am so honored to work with you. I continue to see your diligence, your perseverance, you're willing to be a problem solver. But at the end of that, I see your hearts. So I'm deeply honored to work with you all as my senior vice presidents. Certainly proud of the organization that we lead and looking forward to the next period of this, because I believe that Montgomery College is going to be another space will be a national model about how one leads through this coronavirus. We're doing it, and I do it with each of you as partners. So thank you all so much, okay?
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Pollard.
you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Let me end by saying deep thank you to Dr. Megan Gibbons from my office, who works with us to get the answers and to put them in a thoughtful, organized space. Always better for that. I want to thank MCTV, who just is the best thing since sliced bread, for always making sure that we have a thoughtful way, engaged about how to do this work, and technically sound. And to everyone who contributed by posing questions, or those people who went out and found answers to questions, deeply grateful to each of you. To all of you, thank you so much, and be well. See you next time.
Be well.